So the system is the best method for mastering sight reading that I have found. I learned it in graduate school, developed by a friend of mine who we had to study for our PhD exams, and given that the majority of the exam would have been at sight, we developed this method. And also, since students get discouraged when they feel swamped by the daunting amount of previously unseen texts that, of course, start to happen at the intermediate and advanced levels, this method is going to be a way of dealing with that by getting you in the habit of approaching the workload on a regular basis in very manageable chunks. And this is the most efficient way to study any language. Because the system involves constant review of grammar, syntax, and vocabulary, the sooner you start using the system, the faster you'll become proficient in the language. All right, so you're going to need some supplies. You'll need a good dictionary. So you can use an online dictionary. You're going to need a grammar book. You're going to need access to online resources like Perseus or the TLG, and you're definitely going to need a flashcard system, either actual physical flashcards or some online version. And the key here is that you need to start to get into the habit of memorizing your vocabulary regularly. Now, so the basic principles, once we start getting started, are engage with your ancient Greek reading assignment every day. And 2 is never wait to the last minute, the night before, or try to do everything all in one sitting. Okay, because this is actually counterproductive. You may think it's most efficient to save up your studying or going over your homework on, one day or the day before, when it's best to actually spread it out. And this is what the system does. Okay, so you're going to divide up your assignment into manageable chunks that you can cover thoroughly each day. So for example, if your reading assignment is, say, 150 lines of Sophocles, you break that up into smaller chunks of about 30 lines per day. And then for each day's chunk, you break that up into 3 smaller units around the same amount of lines. And then what you want to do is schedule 4 separate 35 to 40 to 60 minutes, depending on where you are. If you're beginner, between 45 and 60, closer to the 60, because it's going to take you longer because you know less words. And you want these sessions to be uninterrupted and throughout the day. So you can schedule one during the morning, then 2 in the afternoon, and then 1 in the evening. So now the first session of the week, that is, you're going to be looking at your first chunk. You're going to sit with the passage for 10 to 15 minutes, and you're going to use a timer. And you're going to try to write out a translation of this chunk. And you're going to do it without the benefit of the dictionary or any kind of translation or anything. You're just going to sit there and you're going to go over each word and try to translate it. And the best idea is to when you don't know a word, at least identify what you know about it, and take the whole 10 minutes or 15 minutes to identify as much as you can about each word, even if you don't have a full sentence. And then after that, then you take 5 minutes to go get back over again, still unaided, to see if you can actually try to make out some kind of sentences. Then step 2 is when you're going to start checking it with a dictionary. So you're going to take 10 to 15 minutes using a dictionary and your online resources to, you're not going to use a translation yet, you're going to use the dictionary and the online resources to identify the words that you couldn't remember. So if it's all the words, all the words. And you're going to make flashcards for every single word you could not recognize. Okay, and then you're going to take another 10 to 15 minutes to work on the translation using a commentary and the grammar and translation. And you're going to take notes. And where you can't figure out how the translation got to what it got to from the grammar or the syntax, that's, you're going to highlight that sentence for the professor, and you're going to ask them, how does that work? And then your next step is you're going to try again, unaided. You're going to be using a timer, and you're going to take 10 minutes to try to translate your passage again. You should be able to do much better. And then you're going to take, after that, you're going to take another 5 to 10 minutes to review the translation and check for accuracy. And then the last step is to take 10 minutes to go over your flashcards and make sure it's full 10 minutes. So that's your first step here. In subsequent sessions, the principle is going to be review what you've done before and then repeat the steps we just went over. So in your second study session of the day, you will use the flashcards and you'll start going through them, memorizing them, and you'll take 10 to 15 minutes with that. So that's what you're going to do in the first session. Start with the flashcards for the previous chunk. Now, after you've reviewed your flashcards, your next step is to then translate and review the previous chunk. So you're going to set a timer for 10 minutes, and you're going to try to write out a translation of the previous chunk unaided. And again, words that you don't know, you're going to underline, you're going to try to figure out what they are, at least identify their cases, etc. And unaided, you're going to sit there for the full 10 minutes without looking at any help. And then the 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to check it with your notes and your translation. So each study session hereafter, you're going to review all the previous chunks, adding in a new chunk. And when the earliest chunks become easy to read, they can be dropped and then revisited in a spot check once in a while. So in your fourth and final study session of the day, you're going to take 10 to 15 minutes going over all of your flashcards first. Then you're going to set a timer for 20 minutes and you're going to try to translate the whole chunk of the daily allotment. And then after that, you're going to take 10 to 20 minutes to check your translation, highlighting the words that you keep missing. And then you're going to at the end of it, you're going to devote 10 to 15 minutes doing flashcards again, but this time you're going to focus on the words that you keep missing every time. So on the next day, you're going to start a new series of study sessions. So you have 4 study sessions for the day. And in the first study session, what you're going to do is you're going to begin by reviewing all the flashcards from the day before. And that take about 10 to 15, 20 minutes, right? And then you're going to again set the timer, this time for 10 minutes, to translate the whole passage from the day before. And you're going to try to do it as quickly as possible. Words you don't know, you're just going to underline and you're going to stop when this timer goes off. All the words you couldn't get or remember, you're going to mark them in your flashcards, maybe set them aside as a special hard to get at pile, and then you're going to repeat all the steps of the previous day. So you're going to start with your new chunk, do your first try, then you're going to second try, etc. Now, after your 5 days of trying to study this method, then on the last day, the difference will be in the last session of your study. So you're going to, in the last session, what you'll do is you're going to review everything that you've done for the whole week, the whole passage, and so you're going to start off again with the flashcards, going through the flashcards for the whole week, particularly the ones that you keep missing. And then after you've done your flashcards, then you're going to try to translate the whole week's assignment in one sitting for about 20-25 minutes, unaided, with a timer. And then when the timer goes off, the words that you couldn't recognize, if there are any, you're going to put those in a special flashcard group. And so basically you're going to mark off the flashcards that are troublesome to you, and those ones you're going to keep repeating every time until they can be moved out. So this method then is going to be the best method for getting yourself fully versed in all the vocabulary. Your vocabulary is going to get very strong, and your ability to read is also going to be very strong, because you're going to spend so much time on just close reading of very small, manageable chunks instead of trying to do the whole thing at once. So I recommend this. I hope you will try to use it, and I look forward to seeing how well you guys can read very soon.